Am I in focus? Hey guys, Dennis here. So I just wanted to take some time to give an update. First, some numbers. This channel hit 1 million views. 1 million views. A million views. We're over 4,000 subscribers right now, I think. And over 5 million minutes watched. I should be so excited about this. And I'm trying to pretend to be, but, well, here's what happened. So, a month ago, I had a video kind of go viral. If you remember, a few months ago, I did an update of why I quit YouTube last summer. And basically, I started getting too caught up in the numbers. So I wanted to take a step back from any kind of analytics or numbers or anything and try not to get too excited about those or get caught up in it. Well, I did it again. A month ago, I had one of my videos resurfacing the cylinder head on the table saw went viral. And I'm not sure if that's really viral. I don't know if that's fair to say, but it's got almost 500,000 views, which I don't even know how to think about this. It's so crazy. I was on vacation with my family, short weekend trip, and I'm checking the stats, and I see it go up, and then I see this crazy peak, and it went way higher than a while back. Make Magazine ran an article on my backyard homemade sawmill. And I saw like this huge spike in like watch views and subscribers. And I thought I'd never surpass that peak. And then this one just shot right by it. And then I'm looking later, it kind of dipped a little bit. I'm like, wow, that was crazy. I'm looking later, shoots up again, completely blows that last peak out of the water. And then I knew like, something's going on here. I ended up having about 6,000 views in an hour at one point. And of course, it's monetized. So I'm looking at the revenue, and that was pretty sweet too. I mean, nothing crazy, but way more than this channel's ever seen on one video, that's for sure. I didn't really know how to respond to that. While it was really cool, it felt weird to kind of celebrate on this channel about that, because I think it was just kind of like a, you know, I got lucky, and it could have been a fluke. And I didn't really feel like I put a lot of effort into that video. So, you know, luck of the draw. It went viral for whatever reason. Google's algorithm picked it up or something. So anyway, I was watching the stats for like all month. And sure enough, like the peak settled down. And it really ended up just being like this several day kind of like explosion that just then settled down back to like normal numbers. But it did boost the revenue quite a bit, and that's what I really had my eye on. And then yesterday, YouTube transferred the funds to AdSense, where I get paid out. And I looked at my analytics, and my revenue had been cut in half. So all month what I was looking at was actually more than twice what I ended up getting paid out. So it's as if when it came time to settle up, put money in my bank account, suddenly those estimates were, oh, way off. And say 40% of what I was expecting is still way more than this channel usually makes. So I shouldn't be disappointed, but I'm pretty disappointed. So YouTube really needs to get better at communication. I've had a day to cool off. It's a good thing I didn't make this video yesterday. I did submit a ticket asking, you know, why is this? What happened? What was different? Why was there no explanation? Why did you suddenly adjust past numbers and charts? So this was like last month's February. So it's March 12th I'm recording this. This was February 3rd, where the peak, the top of the peak was, and the revenue in that period, suddenly overnight they adjusted all that, and it became half of what they've been showing me for a whole month. And then that amount got sent to AdSense, and still waiting for it to go into my bank account. Now I'm not even sure about that. So while I'm still trying to be excited about this, it's hard because my hopes were up here, and really I ended up right here, which is still way more than the usual right here. So don't get me wrong, but all right, wanted to get all that out of the way. It's crazy, I still had almost 500,000 views on that video. I don't think it was due to talent. I think the idea of the content was the main factor, and the title, which I hate clickbait. I thought that one was a little bit funny because I was actually using a table saw, but I could see how some people would think that's, you know, pure clickbait. Really, it was tongue-in-cheek for like my subscribers. I didn't put it out there trying to bait the rest of YouTube's, which seems like kind of what happened. Although I gotta say, the vast majority of comments on that video were super positive, and you had all of these people coming out saying, "Yeah, man, that's how we used to do it. That's how a lot of people still do it. Like, it's totally valid. Like, yeah, that's totally gonna work." Which, let's get into the comments just a little bit. One comment that I wasn't expecting, that was kind of random, was I said in the video that a machinist once told me that you can feel 1/1,000,000th of an inch with your the human finger, you know, and that's true. I mean, it's absolutely true. A machinist did tell me that, and they explained that if you have two pieces butted up against each other, if the difference in those two heights are 1/1,000,000th of an inch or more, then you can detect it with your finger or fingernail or something. What I was trying to say was just, here's an interesting fact. While I'm feeling the surface of the table for rust, what people interpreted as, like, I can sense that this table is completely flat, which is totally different. That's not what I was saying. I was just kind of saying, hey, here's a cool fact. So I can actually post if you Google it, there's a study that was done, and it was actually not 1/1,000,000th of an inch. It was 1/25,000,000th of an inch, so 25 times smaller. They found people could detect the surface finish of a material, like nanometers we're talking about here. Very, very, very small patterns. So there's a scientific paper that supports this. If you want to, I could link it, but I don't really care. People find little things you say and like, that was wrong. It only costs $10 for a machine shop to do it. Why don't you just bring it next door and have the machine shop surface it for you? First of all, I want to know where these $10 machine shops are, because in my area, within 100 miles, they're charging about 150 bucks for this job. So the real reason, though, that I wanted to do this, if you watched my previous videos, was that I welded the voids, and this was the first time I've ever welded aluminum to actually do anything with it. And I actually found the first time that I used the router to flatten those welds that there was a lot of porosity. There's a lot of bubbles in there. So I wasn't going to take this thing to drive 45 minutes to a machine shop, spend $150 for them to surface it, and then expose more bubbles. And then I have to take it back and weld it again. Or maybe like the whole weld is like hollow in the middle. I don't know. So the whole point of me doing it myself was that I'd be able to quickly tell if the welds were sound. Like if I was getting clean, shiny metal all the way across, then I was good to go. And that ended up, after the second time I welded it, that was the case. But yeah, I kind of don't understand the thought process there, and why people were so angry. Like, they're angry that I wasted my time or something. Like, very bizarre. It won't work. It's a waste of time. This is dumb. I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that. It worked perfectly. My truck is running great. It's running better than it was before. Probably because the seals, I replaced the oil seals, so I'm not getting an oil leak into the cylinders now. So it idles great, it runs great. It's taken me to work and back. I saved a whole bunch of money. You know, around here to have that job done, it would have been much more than what the truck is worth. So, I'm not afraid of elbow grease. Like, I'm not afraid of doing a little bit of work myself. That was the other weird thing. It's like, that looks hard. Why would you do it? I don't even have an answer for that. There was one good comment that was said, if the head was really warped, then the cam journals or whatever would still be warped, and so the cam would bind on the top. And I hadn't thought about that, but that's entirely true. If the entire thing was warped, then sanding the bottom doesn't get the warp out. But it wasn't. I mean, you saw it. It wasn't even. The only warpage happened right around the exhaust ports where I welded. And I don't even know, looking back, if maybe the seals or the valve seats were already like that. You're not actually using the saw. That was clickbait. Again, really meant it more as tongue-in-cheek, but I'll tell you what, I do believe it's possible to mill a cylinder head on the table saw using the saw blade. So running the saw blade and actually slicing off a little bit of metal to true up the surface. And I believe it can even be done with a cast iron head, and I happen to have one. And I'm going to make a video about this soon. So I'll show you how that can be done. Anyway, I left almost all of those comments. The only ones I removed are ones that were totally irrelevant, or just totally irrelevant, really. People are free to say what they want. I'm not going to censor you on my channel, so I just want you guys to know that. Whatever you want to say, it's going to be left up there, even if you disagree with me. More updates. So, I had a lot of false starts on some projects recently, and they were going to be YouTube videos, but it didn't quite work out. So here's just a couple things I learned. Oh, so first of all, because I did get some revenue from that video, I was able to make some purchases. So I got a new camera, and let me show you. There we go. So I got a real camera now for filming my videos. And it's not the best camera, and it's several years old now. It's a Panasonic Lumix G85, but it works just fine for me. And the real reason I got it was more to improve my process flow, because this should make it easier to have audio and video on the same file, and I can see myself a lot better because it's got a nice big LCD screen display here that I can flip around, and I'm looking at myself talk. I can actually see myself now, so that's a big improvement. And it's takes some real lenses. I couldn't zoom with the cell phone, so now I can zoom with that, which is nice. I bought 20 pounds of Satanite. So I am ready to finish my foundry, my metal melting furnace project. This is something I got for Christmas that I never had a chance to talk about, but it's pretty cool. I got a 3D printer. And this thing cost 79 bucks on Black Friday, so I said, man, what the hell? I really bought it just because it looks so damn cool. This is a Delta style, so yeah, look at that. But really what this will do for me is prototyping, making patterns for casting. One of the things I want to do also is get into lost PLA casting. You make the mold around the plastic part and then melt it out and then pour molten metal in. So I think that would be something really cool to be able to do. It's on the list of projects. So we've got this guy. And here's the big one. Literally. We got a planer. So I'll finally be able to plane down the boards that I cut with my homemade sawmill that have been in the shed drying all this time. This spring I'll be milling them up and then making some woodworking projects out of them. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, so along with the camera, this year for me is all going to be about process improvement, making things easier for myself. One of the accessories I got was a camera bag, and that's mostly to have a place to put all my stuff that I can kind of throw up on a shelf that the kids can't get into. Here's the first failed project. Not totally a failure, but I was going to make a video about this. The problem with that camera bag is that I opened it up, and in the store I kind of thought that it could be all configurable with the dividers. And then I pulled the dividers out and I realized that actually the Velcro is sewn in to specific places. So you can remove the dividers or put them back, but you can't really shift where they are. So I'd seen other bags that have the entire inside lined with some kind of material that Velcro sticks to. So it turns out this material is a fabric called Veltex, and it's made by Velcro. And it's also called loop fabric because it's kind of like the loop side of Velcro. The hooks stick into it. So you can buy this stuff, and it's not very expensive, but it gets expensive because you can only buy it from bigger suppliers. Like Amazon doesn't carry small amounts of this. I ended up actually finding some on eBay, which was nice. And so I was going to line the entire inside of the bag with this stuff. The problem is the bag is made out of what I think is nylon, and not a lot of stuff sticks to nylon. So I actually tried quite a few adhesives. I tried 3M Super 77 spray. I tried super glue. I tried E6000, which is a super industrial strength rubber cement kind of stuff. That was a no-go. I tried fabric glue. I tried a whole bunch of stuff, and what ended up working the best was hot glue. Now you could still pull it off with some force, but it did take quite a bit of force, and it seemed to stick pretty well to both the fabric and to the nylon bag. So first tip, if you're going to glue something to a nylon bag, hot glue seems to be the way to go. The problem is it doesn't look great, and maybe if you're better at applying it than I was, you'll be able to get a better finished product, but the whole process was messy, and the particular fabric that I had didn't have a backing, so it was stretchy and it kind of stretched around and it ended up kind of ugly. I also don't recommend using hot glue anywhere things are going to get hot, obviously, but even like something that's going to sit in the trunk of a car in the summertime, probably not a good idea to use hot glue. So I didn't really feel too confident about actually making a video about this, but I thought those were a couple tips that maybe would come in useful if you ever had to do a project with nylon fabric. So then the next project that I had was an issue I have with the shop stand that I made, the monopod or tripod. It did turn out to be a little bit wobbly, and so I was trying to think of ways to make it not wobble. So when I got my master's in applied mathematics, my thesis was actually in differential equations, and specifically modeling the oscillations that happen in a stepper motor. But really all oscillations can be related to a weight on the end of a spring. And the variables that you can change are the spring strength, so like how thick the spring is or how strong it is, the weight that's on the end of it, or the length of the spring. And that relates, in this case, to the length of the pole, which I didn't really want to shorten because I liked having it really tall like this. The weight I can't really change. increasing the weight would just make it wobble slower and more. So I thought I could modify the spring tension, or in this case, the rigidity of the pole. So what I tried to do was fill it with concrete. And I still think this would probably work, but it just ended up being a much more difficult and messy job than I expected. I also used a kind of concrete that has a nylon in it. It has like a plasticizer in it. It's made for patching. So I think it's probably a little bit more elastic than standard cement. So I would like to try this again sometime because I think I would get better results. But as it was, I wasted an entire morning trying to shove cement into this pipe, and then at the end it didn't really make much of a difference. And I think that's because I didn't really pack it in good enough, and I didn't get enough in it. But check this out. I did have one brilliant idea that actually helps a lot. This is a chain of fishing weights on fishing line. I just tied it to a bottle cap. Here, let's see if you can tell the difference. Okay. This is without the string in there. It doesn't wobble a ton, but it just keeps going for a long time. Like it's still wobbling, it's still wobbling, it's still wobbling. I don't know if you can really... Yeah. And it's still going. It's still going. It's just kind of oscillating. But check this out. Come on. Ugh. And now, give it a good wobble. And you can hear them hitting up against the side of the pipe. And it's going a little bit, and it's pretty much stopped. Yeah. Oh yeah, now it's stopped. So what I hadn't thought of was dampening. That's another part of the equation for oscillations. Every time they strike the side of the pole, a little bit of kinetic energy gets transferred to the weights and dampens the oscillation. And then when the pole comes back, it hits it again, and so you can hear it as they bang up against the side of the pole. Kind of each time it takes a little bit of energy out of that vibration, and it makes it settle down way quicker. I thought that was pretty cool. Ended up working really well, actually. Let's see, other updates. Oh, the bees are alive. Yeah, I thought they were dead for sure, but my daughter found a bee on top of the snow the other day and said, "Hey Dad, there's a bee here." And that's unusual, especially in the middle of winter, unless there's bees close by. So sure enough, I checked the hive, and there was an angry few bees that came out and tried to sting me, which was exciting because that means they had the energy to try and defend the hive. So I gave them some sugar. I poured some sugar on some newspaper to feed them, and hopefully they make it through the rest of the winter, which is starting to warm up now. It's March, so there's still almost a foot of snow on the ground, but hopefully it'll be spring soon. Then I'll have bees, because I really thought they all died out over much earlier, actually, when it got cold in the fall. So probably my next project is going to be a sled for this planer, and the reason is I don't have a jointer, and you need a joiner to get the first side of a board flat. If you just send it through the planer with curves in it and everything, the planer will just follow the curve, and you'll end up with a flat but curved board, if that makes any sense. So a sled will give me the ability to put a warped board and support it in the places somehow to keep it, well, you'll see. Anyway, that's going to be the next project I'm working on. So look forward to that video coming out whenever I get time. Time is still an issue. I actually took today off to film this update video for you guys. Oh! I got a new logo. I made a logo for the channel. So I didn't have it professionally done or anything. I just kind of like whipped it up myself because I really thought that I needed some kind of branding. And I'm not sure if you guys realize kind of like what it's supposed to be, but it kind of represents the, I don't know what's going to happen. I like to show you the first time I do things. I like to show you the mistakes I make, especially my failures, which I've just shown you a bunch. This is not a how-to channel. So I thought this was a good representation of, you know, the kind of videos I make. Let me know if you like it and if you don't like it. All right, so special thanks if you're still here with me and you made it all the way through this video. I really appreciate it. It's really great having you guys around. It's like sometimes I kind of feel like I have some company in the shop here. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. I don't even know. It's probably not my next.